Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Look, staying hydrated. That's beautiful. Yes, yes. If you guys have it, get your papers and your pens. Get you a piece of mail. You can write on it. Okay, we save paper over here. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. So I would like to introduce myself, and then I'll let this beautiful lady over here introduce herself. My name is Geneva. I am a content creator. I'm a whole bunch of stuff. I'm a lifestyle architect. I help wellness entrepreneurs build avenues and foundations to grow. I also am the owner of Where is Neva. It is a support journey. I can't even think. It's a platform to support and inspire your Black truth. And that's what we're here today to talk about. And my beautiful, can you
hmm
introduce yourself?
Yes. Hey, y'all. My name is Tashara. I'm a social worker, but I'm also a content creator as well, a digital content creator. So I primarily create like lifestyle content as well as like style and travel at times, but that's limited this year or whatever. So yeah, that's what I do. I've been doing that for about a year, and I'm excited to be here. One thing that me and Eva did was collaborate on a blog post, which was great to do.
Yes, yes, yes. I met this beautiful Tashara at the club.
We did meet at the club. We did meet at the club. We was
I met
acting
this
a ratchet
beautiful
mess
woman
too.
at the club back in the day. Okay, because it's like forever now. Back in the day, and we just clicked. She has just good energy. She's doing great work. What kind of work do you do
Thank
in social
you.
work?
Social work. So I work in the emergency department. So I primarily do like psychiatric assessments and try to get people into, get the help they need mental health wise. But I also work for an insurance company, a Medicaid company. And so there I'm a case manager. So just trying to help people connect with resources they may need. Like
Yes.
housing is a big thing this year, because, people are like losing their jobs, can't pay their rent. So that's what I do, like 9 to 5, and then on call, I work in the emergency department.
Wow, look at you. Thank you for your service and
Well,
thank you
thank
for our
you.
work. So it ain't just two people just talking to talk right now. We be doing the work.
Exactly, exactly.
so, so this beautiful Tuesday, family, hello, hello, hello. And thank you for tuning in. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, this is an open discussion. So please send us a comment. Please text up your question, type up your question. Yeah, it's been a long day. So
No, I hear
it's
you. I hear you. It has been a long
it's
day,
a
but I feel like I haven't done anything. So it's like, what?
listen, it's a free flowing conversation. So today we are going to talk about it's a table talk and it's open discussion about protecting Black women. And what does that even mean? What does that look like? And like I said, Black women, Black men, whoever you are, comment. Let's talk. It's an open discussion. So, like she said earlier, me and her came together and we collabed on this article called "Steps to Protect Black Women." This piece was amazing, but before that, she was featured on Where Is Neva, and she posted an article about why black men don't date Black women, and
Mm-hmm.
that piece was woo, okay. And if you guys have not read that piece, definitely check it out at whereisneva.com. Can you give us a recap of what that piece was about?
Yeah, so that specific blog was just sharing a story, a dating story that came about in my life, like within the last few months. I was just quick rundown. I was dating a Black man um, who what kept saying like colorist things to me, just kept bringing up the fact that I was dark skinned. At the same time, he was also a dark skinned man. Not that I feel like that carries a bit more weight, right? So he was also a darker skinned man, kept bringing up the fact that I'm dark skinned. And ultimately, I was just like, why are you doing that? And we got into an argument about it. And he was like, this is why Black men don't date Black women, And so, and he wasn't saying that because we got into an argument, but because I was saying, you bringing up my color all the time just makes me feel like you're a colorist, You have an issue with me being darker skinned. And so that's what he said. Ultimately, it was like, this is why Black men don't date Black women. So for the whole rundown, make sure you definitely go check out the blog piece.
Yes, go check it out. It's juicy. So I have
it
people,
is juicy.
I have people comment on that post, not directly on that article, but I had people reach out to me and was like, I don't know how I feel about that. And I also want to talk about, just because it's not your truth doesn't mean it ain't the truth. Okay. So colorism is big in our community, and that's something we got to talk about, because it needs to end. It needs to end. Okay.
Exactly.
Blackness in all shades is gorgeous. And we need to stop these conversations, and we need to start these conversations and stop colorism, and not talk about why Black men don't date Black women, knowing that most, like, for a high chance, your mama's Black. So,
Period.
So, like, that's how you feel about your mama, and if that's how you feel about your mama, you can go to therapy. Okay.
Preach, sis.
Because it has nothing. You're projecting. So if you haven't read that piece, once again, go. You can take a break, go tap in, and then come back and ask questions, because we have her right here to talk about it. But the piece that we are going to really dive into is called Steps to Protect Black Women. And so we listed steps on how to do that. But before we dive into that, I do want to share a little bit of just my story about even dating, or even traveling, being a Black woman, or even just moving around being a Black woman. And I will open the floor for you as well. Yes, Shuey, you better love Black queens. And why we are even saying protect Black women, okay? There's a reason that this movement is going around, and we need to address it. So I a few years ago, hasn't been that long, I don't know, maybe last year, I posted a video on YouTube talking about how I got threatened in Tanzania. And the reason behind it wasn't about my complexion, but it was more of this obligation to me, right? And this man felt like, because he took me on a date, that he's obligated to me, and that I need to spend more time. And how I canceled our datings and our relations, he didn't like that at all. And so he proceeded to threaten me while I was traveling. And this is not the only story. There's also many stories from Black women. We featured an article called Lost Letters from Our Black Women. And there's just many stories about traveling, and about sex. Okay, we're going to dig deep today. And I posted on that article, I talked about how a man removed the condom when we were having sex. And we don't talk about that enough. And how that is rape. Okay.
Absolutely.
And how that made me feel after finding out. So I was intimate with this dude, and during the time of our intimacy, he ended up removing the condom. And I was pissed. I was so mad.
Yes.
And I looked at,
I said, yes. I was pissed too.
And
yes.
Because the way I found out, he pushed me off, and he was just like, move. And I said, wait, move what? What are you talking about? And so I looked at him, and he was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, wait, you don't have a condom on? And he was like, no. What? You got an STD or something? And I'm like, what the hell? So you are going to question my sexual activity when you remove the condom that I didn't give you the yes to, right? And then when I went to the doctors to talk about it, because I wanted to get checked and everything else, they ended up telling me I got raped. And I'm just like, wow. And there's so many different stories like that. And I always wonder if men even know that is considered as rape, or the things that are not okay. Do they even know that is not okay? Right. You know, and that's the type of conversations we need to have, so that we can end this stuff. Because if we just yell and protect Black women and not understanding why we are saying that, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. So our discussion is for the Black women who have experienced these traumatic situations, even Black men who have experienced these traumatic situations. This is for you, so we can have that healing conversation, so we can end it. But there's so many different things, from me getting threatened in the club, for me getting cussed out in the club for not giving my number out, for me having to lie to say I have a boyfriend, you know, to make sure that I'm okay. You know, it's just not okay. It's not okay. And I'm laughing because that is a coping mechanism I taught myself to.
Right. It's such an uncomfortable thing to talk about. Yeah.
Exactly. This is some hard shit and we don't talk about it. I just have stories for days, and it's unfortunate. And there's so many people who have stories about that. So yeah, I'm opening the ground to you if there's any story, if you feel open to sharing any stories about situations like this.
Yeah, one story that when you were talking kind of reminded me of, I went on a date with this one Black man. And after the date, before I went to the date, I made a plan to go out, hang out with some friends after that, because I didn't expect to be with him all night, right? And so I was trying to like kind of wrap up the date, and I was like, hey, you know, I'm going to go connect with one of my friends right now. And he was like, you mean to tell me you made a plan after our date? Like, you're not supposed to do stuff like that. Just complete ownership. And it's kind of like, I don't know you. First of all, I don't owe you anything. Like, I don't know you. And it's like, I can do what I want. Like, why do you feel like you're obligated to all of my time or my entire night? You know? So that's one thing that came to mind when you were talking. But other than that, like that, and then like the colorism guy that I dealt with, like just things come up like within a dating realm for me. I feel like mostly. Those are the two stories off the top of my head.
Definitely. And I wanted to share a few other stories just to give us some things to talk about more. Let's see, and this is trigger warning, please, family. I should have said that before. Trigger warning. It may be triggering, and if so, and you're about it, tell us, okay? So we can start talking about it into a deeper context. But this story stood out to me a lot from our article. It goes, I kill you and any nigga you decide to be with if we ain't about to be together, he said as he waved his loaded AK-47 in my direction. Although I had tears streaming down my face, this fearful act was something I became accustomed to. For a year and a half, I feared for my life in a relationship that began filling with passion, but quickly became dangerous. What the F did you take a plan B for? So you trying to say this body isn't mine and I don't have a say so as what you do with it? And she goes on a little bit more about just that interaction and stuff. And just reading that kind of stuff brings chills and literally brings tears in my eyes. Because these are the reasons why we're saying that. Exactly. And if you guys think this is okay, that's the problem in itself. You know? So yeah, I'm not going to keep on going on this.
Right.
This thing about this super sadness, but I do want to give you guys a ground of why we're saying what we're saying. From the Megan Thee Stallion situation and how she got shot by someone that we like was listening to his music.
We all loved, knew and loved. Yes.
Exactly. To Bill Cosby, to just all these great
R. Kelly.
People, that most likely they have had trauma and traumatic experiences that end up them doing traumatic experience to other people. And the reason why we need to end this cycle is so that the traumatic experience can stop. Absolutely. Okay? Even R. Kelly. Like, I feel bad listening to R. Kelly music now.
Sometimes it just come on and you don't even realize it's playing.
What? You be singing,
and you start singing.
Wait, this is R. Kelly. I can't listen to this.
You gotta hurry up and switch it. Yes.
And so it's just like, we have these great people, that have done such great things for the Black movement and the Black people, but
the
because
culture,
they do, just because they do things that through their trauma, we have to cancel them out. And I want to also talk about cancel culture a little bit after this, but let's talk about our piece about steps to protect Black women. But before we talk about our piece, y'all, the doors is open. The platform is open. The stage is open. Please talk to us. Let us know how you feel. This is a big topic. It's very touchy. I don't know if Tashara knew we were going to get this deep.
I didn't know we was going to get this deep.
But this is what table talks are for. We have to open these doors because I'm tired, family. I'm exhausted. And I love my Black family so much that I'm not going to just dismiss it. We need to talk about it, and we're going to use these white ass platforms to do so until we start building our own. Okay.
Talking about it definitely will open the door to like healing these issues for sure. You know, because I think just speaking like specifically towards colorism, right? I feel like a lot of people in the Black community don't want to recognize it because it's so ugly, and you feel like we're not capable as Black people of oppressing one another in that type of way, or you don't feel like it's real for whatever reason, right? But like just talking about it and just being open and keeping an open mind will definitely help you at least understand it. And from understanding it, you know, you can take the steps necessary to address it and eradicate it, at least in your own life, you know, and then move forward that way. We can move forward as a community, but just to just ignore it and act like it doesn't exist will not solve the problem. It'll just make it worse.
Not at all. Not
right?
at all.
Right.
And just because it stopped trending doesn't mean the problem is over.
Exactly.
You know, like there's the movement of missing Black women or missing Black girls in DC. A good amount of them are still missing, you know, and we don't talk about that enough, about human trafficking and all this other stuff that's happening in our community, but that we need to talk about, you know. But yes, I agree. So the steps to protect Black women that we came up with, the first step was to listen. When Black women tell you their stories of abuse, listen to them. Listen to understand, to provide support. What does listening mean to you?
Definitely, like I just said a little bit before, like listening to what people are saying to you. Don't like be quick to make your own assumption or formulate your own opinion. Don't listen to respond. Listen to understand. And even if someone is saying, you know, something that you don't necessarily have experience with or you haven't heard of, doesn't mean it's not true. Like you were saying earlier, right? Just because it's not your truth doesn't mean it's not true at all, right?
Period.
Okay. So you have to listen with an open mind and just try to approach the situations with understanding, you know, and with an open heart. That's
definitely. Active listening. Active listening.
That's what it's called.
You know, like it's so easy to listen. It's so easy to listen to people to be heard. So like, let's say me and Tashara's talking and she's just talking and my mind's just all over the place. So I'm distracted and I'm messing with this pen. That's not active listening. Active listening is actually sitting there, paying attention, eye contact if you can. Some people can't give eye contact and that's okay. But listen to what that person is saying and hear, you know, and ask deep questions. Like, are you saying this? What do you mean by this? That's what we need to do.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And don't be scared to ask clarifying questions. Just asking questions doesn't mean that you're necessarily questioning the response. You're just trying to understand, right?
Yes. I love it. Yes. So, like, let's say, for instance, Tashara came and was like, protect Black women. I'm like, but what do you mean by protect Black women? Let her give me the facts. Let her tell me her story behind what does that mean. So therefore, I'm like, okay, you know, because it's so easy. Like, nah, I don't have to deal with that. That has nothing to do with me. Colorism. What are you talking about? You know. So then ask that person, okay, what do you mean by colorism? You know. Another step is to believe Black women the first time. Stop gaslighting Black women or suggestions that they played a role in their victimization. Ooh, chills.
Yes.
Chills.
That's a big one, especially when you shared the story about taking off the man taking off the condom, right? You know, a lot of times when we hear stories about rape in those type of ways, like where it's not like forceful and things like that, people always project and say that the woman played a role in that. Like say you got too drunk, you're blacked out, and then some man had sex with you, that's considered rape. But because you got drunk, people like to blame you, and so that's really important to me for people to just believe women when they're telling their stories about being victimized and things like that, and don't try to blame them and be like, well, if he wasn't drinking that much, or if he was paying attention to what he was doing, and just blaming the woman for, the situation that they were put in. They were put in, they didn't put themselves in. I think that is huge, especially with Megan Thee Stallion. You're like, well, she was drunk, or she was doing this, or she probably tried to shoot him first. It's kind of like, why are you guys trying to make these assumptions? Just believe what this young woman is saying, and just hear her story. I think what's important is to also consider the fact, like, why are you trying to jump to defend the man first? Like, why is that the case? You need to explore that,
Listen. Okay. Like my video about why I got threatened or why I left Tanzania, and about my experience with threatening. A lot of people, good amount of people, was gaslighting me. Was saying, well, you shouldn't have accepted that gift, or well, you shouldn't have. That's why I don't. And I'm like, why are you even making this about you? Like,
right. And it's also like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak.
No, go ahead, please.
And it's also like, people love to say what they would do in certain situations, but how can you say that unless you've been in that situation yourself? And even if you have, you're not me. You're not me. You know what I'm saying? So all of our reactions and our behaviors are going to be different because we're different people. We're individuals. So you can't say, well, if I was doing this, I would have did that. Like, you can't say that,
Definitely so. I agree. So believe, okay? That's second two. Always try to fit themselves in the situation. Right. Like, you don't even belong here.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
Yes. Believe. Another part under believe is that Black women should not have to over-explain themselves in order to be seen as victims. Woo! Chills. Chills. It happened. Allow that person to talk. Okay. And I also want to make note that it's not just Black women, but it happens a lot to Black women. Okay. It's not just Black women. Black men are victims of abuse. And a lot of times they are not talking because they're seen as supposed to be this macho, masculine man, that if they do report that, that would be seen something as in bad.
Absolutely.
Black men, it happens to you all. And your voice matters as well. Okay? Because we need to acknowledge it so that we can believe you and talk about it, and so we can fix these problems. Okay?
Exactly.
Family, if you are asking questions and they're not about what we are talking about right now, we may not answer that. We'll lead to that question. Another one is no. Become knowledgeable about the oppression Black women face. Here are some facts. Being a Black woman means you are uniquely disadvantaged within the world and even within the Black community.
I think people need to understand. I think it's hard for people to understand that because a lot of people don't realize that Black men, straight Black cisgender men, have privilege within the Black community. And when you don't fit in that box within that identity, you do not have privileges the same way that straight cisgender men have privilege, And I think that just hearing that a Black man can have privilege turns a lot of people off. They're like, excuse me. No, I don't. But you have to understand the ways in which you do, There's like a whole like checklist. I'm not sure if we shared that on our blog as one of our resources, but there's like a Black male privilege checklist that you can go look and see how you have privilege over Black women specifically. But just think about other ways that you have privilege, like above, gay men or things like that. Like, there's so many different ways in which their lives are more in danger other than yours, because one thing that only straight Black men have to deal with is just racism or just classism. They don't have to deal with sexism. They don't have to be persecuted because of their sexual identity or anything like that, or their gender. So that can be a difficult concept for people to grasp. But I think that if you come in with just to understand and listen to understand, then you can start to learn that, because it can turn people off. Like I've seen that completely turn people off when we say stuff like that.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, the conversation about privilege in the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And you talk to that to a cis Black man, he'd be like, "What? No,
Excuse me, privilege.
There's no such thing."
Mm-hmm.
It is. And we're not comparing our privilege to anybody else. We're talking about in the Black community. There is privileges that we don't try to talk about. If you guys have not read Randy's story on the energy isn't the same for all Black people, y'all definitely should tap into that on whereisneva.com. And she goes in. Okay, I had to check myself. All right. And
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And she literally talks about what it looks like for privilege and why the energy isn't the same for Black people. And she talks about a lot about transgender Black women and how they are getting killed off that we don't talk about. We don't talk about. And it's important because they are a part of the Black community. And I also want to talk about, just because you are not attracted to that Black woman doesn't mean that you don't need to protect it.
Exactly.
Bar.
Exactly. Exactly.
Write that down, okay? But yes, like it's happening. It's happening. Know the facts about the missing Black children that are happening in DC, around the world. Know about human trafficking. Washington State, human trafficking is big where I'm from. And there's so many different things that we can talk about and cover that we can't just do it ourselves, right? We need our community to talk about this so that we can end this stuff, right? So yes, know your history, know your facts. In knowing your history, also know what the Black women's role back was in slavery, segregation days, right? We don't talk about Malcolm X. We don't talk about, not Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and how Coretta Scott King was his backbone. You know, that's why we say and protect Black women, because she was his backbone and he did some wild shit. We don't talk about that. We only see, oh, yes, Martin Luther King. Oh, thank you. He was a great man, but he was doing wild shit too. And Coretta Scott King needs her flowers just as much. Right? We don't talk enough about Sandra Bland. We don't talk enough, you know, Black women are getting killed off at about the same numbers or even higher by police than Black men are. But we're not talking about that.
They rarely get the attention. Exactly.
Ask yourself why. Okay? It's happening. It's happening every single day. You know, and it's disheartening. It's disheartening. And so we insert more facts under that too. So you guys check out the article. Literally link in bio, and you can see all the notes. We got you started, but you need to get started too. All right. The next one is check yourself. What does that mean to you, Tashara?
That means, like, remember you were sharing about Randy's story, right? And you were like, well, I had to check myself too. Just because you think that you're, like, you know, a well-versed or, like, well person, that doesn't mean you don't have to learn. I find out new things every day that kind of, like, strike a nerve with me, because I'm kind of like, I don't know if that's a thing, but you have to, like we talked about earlier, you have to be open-minded. You have to be open to accepting new things and checking yourself if you you also, you know, put out that energy in the world, right? Like, I'll give an example. So I was on Twitter and someone was like, you know, if you say you don't want to date a bisexual man as a straight woman, that means that you're, what's the word? What is the word I'm thinking of? If you don't want to date bisexual men, that's a problem. It can't be a preference to not date bisexual men. And forever, that took so much of me to understand. Because I'm just like, how does that apply? I don't think that I have an issue. But I was like, you know what, can you guys explain to me what you guys mean by this? And they broke it down like, how can someone having sex with a man turn you off? Like, that means that you're disgusted by gay sex and gay men. And that's why you're not open to dating a bisexual man, because you can't just have a preference to not date someone just because of their sexual identity. And so when they kind of like broke, and I may not be explaining it right, but when they broke it down and I was coming in with the open mind rather than just being completely like turned off by the subject because I don't feel like it fits my truth, then I was able to understand and then check myself to be like, okay, so I understand how I'm inherently, you know, this way, or inherently like biased or prejudiced or whatever. And just making sure I'm not putting out that energy in the world when I interact with people, or even like in the dating realm, and just continuing to learn, just being open to learning, and then just changing your behaviors as you're learning new stuff.
Yes, yes. I love it.
Homophobic, yes. Yes, she put the word. Because I was like, what word am I looking for right now?
Yes,
Thank you,
yes.
sis.
I heard this quote: the smartest person in the room knows that they're not the smartest person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Be open to learning.
Mm-hmm. You don't know
You do
everything.
not know everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell myself every day that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a humbling truth, okay?
It is. It's extremely humbling.
It's hard
Extremely.
to understand that you ain't perfect, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because you be thinking, oh, I'm perfect. I know it all. No, no, you don't. No,
Nope.
you don't.
You don't
And
know
there's going to be
everything.
somebody to check you on that shit, okay? It's okay to not know.
It is.
That's enough. Write that down. It's
It's okay.
okay to not know.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to say, I don't know.
And then
I was,
respectfully ask questions. Respectfully. Just to gain
like we talked
understanding.
about before, I don't understand. Please elaborate. Let me know what you mean by that. Okay? Check yourself. Be open. And like we talked about earlier, just because it's not your truth doesn't mean it ain't the truth.
Exactly.
So ask clarifying questions. We really got to work on communication skills, family.
Yes, we do. Because people love to argue. People love to argue to death.
Listen,
Yes.
I don't like Twitter for that reason. Okay, because everybody feel like they just, I gotta tell you, and then they start being disrespectful. Like, why are you talking about my great great grandma right now, and we talking about?
How'd it go from that? How'd it go from 0 to 100 like that? And we're just talking about Thanksgiving food. You're talking about my mom and my daddy. Like,
Right? It's okay to
really
be wrong,
different.
family. It's okay. It's okay not knowing. Okay, and we have to be more accepting to rejection.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we in the shit we in now, because nobody is okay with being rejected.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be rejected.
Mm-hmm.
That means it ain't for you, and that's okay. You know. And another thing we talked about: check yourself and others. Become aware of the ways you may endanger Black women, and change that, and change them. Hold yourself and others accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I had a friend tell me the story about this dude she was talking to, or her friend, whatever, and they were at the club, and one of the guys, his friend, bought drinks, and one of the drinks that he bought, he was trying to give it to this girl, and this girl was like, "Nah, I'm okay, I don't need it." So she ends up giving it to the friend that my friend was talking to.
Mm-hmm.
The dude drinks it, and that morning he woke up in his car, and the police was knocking on his door, and he got a DUI.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I don't understand. I don't know what happened. He's like, I think I got roofied.
Mm-hmm.
And I then talked to my friend. I was like, but does that mean the dude that gave the drinks was trying to roofie the girl, but it didn't happen? And she was
Right.
like, yeah. And I'm like, that's not cool. That's not cool. And that's why we be having those constant problems.
Absolutely.
Because he, and hopefully he did, I'm not sure how it happened, but he should correct his friend and tell him, dude, that's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God it was him and not her, but
right.
it's still like not okay at all, you know. And that's what we mean when check your friend. If you have a friend that's standing outside whistling at a girl and the girl's just not paying no attention, you need to tell your dude, hey bro, she ain't feeling you, leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we need to check our friends, even Black women. If Black women is arguing with another Black woman about like putting her as a victim and saying, you ain't no victim, you need to be that friend. Say, hey, sis, I love you, but you need to leave this fight alone.
Right. Look at what
Because
you're
it
doing.
be us too that be trying to
It do
victimize
be
each
us.
other.
It do be us too. I be seeing us all in the shade room comments, saying the same stuff, acting like pick-me's in them comments, but you know, we need to hold each other accountable too.
Hold each other. That's the word. Accountability.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it's okay to lose friends. Okay. Because that means you don't want people around you that ain't on the same energy vibration as you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it
just brings you down. Yeah.
R. Kelly, the stuff that happened with R. Kelly happened because nobody was holding him accountable.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it kept on happening because nobody held R. Kelly accountable.
Absolutely, they were too scared. They didn't want to lose. And also, you said they didn't want help. They didn't want to hold him accountable, but they are also selfish. They didn't want to lose anything. They didn't want to lose their status, their money, their opportunities. So they just let all that happen.
And then we have to change our mindset of abundance.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
absolutely.
Put your morals before that money. Because who we chasing money for?
Mm-hmm.
If our values don't go with that money.
Exactly.
Woo, you guys about to have me start preaching today. Seriously.
Exactly. Is it worth it to have these friends in your corner that don't hold the same morals and values as you? Is it worth it to have this job or these opportunities if you can't go to sleep at night? It's not worth it. It's definitely not worth it.
It's not. It's not. We have to hold ourselves accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to our truth. Ask yourself, what are your values? What do you? Here's some other things. What are your values? What is your underlining truth? And stick with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Stick with that stuff. Because I'm telling you, the support is going to come regardless.
Exactly.
That's where the abundance mindset comes. If you come into the scarcity mindset and think you have to go this way, you ain't going to get nothing really.
Mm-hmm. You're going to lose out, period, if you have that type of mindset. You have to switch.
Definitely.
You have to. In order to win.
Definitely. And that goes with everything. I like when it comes to where Neva, all our pillars, physically, mentally, financially, romantically, and artistically, they all connect.
Mm-hmm.
And under is really what is your values. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we talked about the 4 steps. The 4 steps is listen, know, believe, check yourself and others around you. Yeah. So once again, this floor is open up to you all. Let us know if you have any questions. Let us know if you have any comments or anything. We're in this together, family. We have to. I do, before we wrap it up, I do want to talk a little bit about cancel culture. And I don't know your views behind it, but I will tell you mine.
What'd you say?
And then I would love to hear yours too. Huh?
What'd you say we're talking about? I didn't hear you.
Cancel culture.
Oh, cancel culture. Okay.
Cancel culture. Yeah, but no, before I share mine, I would love to hear yours. What's your thoughts about cancel culture in the Black community?
I think sometimes it's necessary, right? Because people do some really heinous shit that they deserve to get canceled from, period, right? So in those cases, I'm talking about people like Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, whatever, right? But then there's times where people maybe tweet something one time or say something one time, and it comes back on them like 10 years later. I'm thinking about like maybe like Kevin Hart or something like that, right? They deserve, I feel like in those cases where they said something problematic 5 years ago, they should be given grace because we're all individuals. We all are on this journey of growing. You know, we all can grow. If you're not growing, then what are you doing, right? So these people need to be given grace at times. But there's times where it's just completely heinous and they need to be canceled. So those are my views on it. Like sometimes I feel like it's out of hand, but sometimes it's not.
Definitely. Okay. So some people may not agree with me, and I'm okay with that because I don't know everything. Okay. I hear you. So my views on cancel culture is definitely grace. I believe that nobody's perfect. I believe that we've all made mistakes. And I believe that we definitely should hold each other accountable. And accountability looks different from the situation. But I also believe that everybody needs help. So to cancel somebody completely out they're not going to be able to get the help that they need.
Right. They won't be able to learn. Right.
Yeah, and so that reason behind that, we can look into the prison system in jail, right? And how a lot of Black men are in jail because of this horrible system that we live in. When we're referring to America, this horrible system that we're living, and how there are some who have done things and there's some who haven't, right? It can be like, dang, I can't think of his name. What is his name? I forgot. The guy who stole a backpack and got accused of, no, he didn't steal it. He got accused of stealing a backpack, and then he got into Rikers Island.
Okay.
And
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Dang, I can't. I have a sweater and everything. Can't think of his name because I'm so sad. But anyways, he ended up being in Rikers Island for so long to end up committing suicide because his mental was just gone. And there's so many different cases like that that we need to tap into that and understand, what does that look like. Everybody, I believe everybody should have the opportunity to change if they get the resources to do so. But if you don't get the resources to do so, then you're not going to be able to change. And with the situation that I just mentioned, he didn't steal the backpack. He got accused to. But if we had social workers or mental health experts to talk, and he have somebody, I don't know how that happened, but someone to constantly talk to, he could be alive today, maybe, possibly. I'm not, there's just so many different situations. If we had more help, we can be able to heal things. And I feel like even the situation with Bill Cosby or R. Kelly, if we looked at R. Kelly's situation, he went through a lot. Like, he was abused and stuff like that. And if he had, in the beginning stages, he had somebody he can confide in. Just imagine
how different it would be.
Just imagine. And so I have a hard time with cancel culture because I believe that people are imperfect, and I believe that people make mistakes, and I believe that if we come together as a community, we can heal a lot of hurt. And we don't talk about, like, in this upcoming weeks, we have a feature called What Happens in the House Stays in the House. And her piece is remarkable. And that's something that I heard in my household. There's different, like, I don't know if you can agree if you heard that in your household. You haven't? Oh, okay. But to hear a Black woman tell me that was told in her household, just like, oh, you got to keep secrets, And that's the reason, when we keep secrets, people don't talk about things that are happening in their household.
Absolutely.
And that's when things happen. And that's when things cycle over. It's cycle over. So I hear you. Holding people accountable. Yes. Sometimes people need different things to hold them accountable, but I feel like we definitely need to work on opening our heart and forgiveness and seeing what that looks like for each one of us, so that we can work for a better healing community.
I do agree. I do think that we do. I feel like our society as a whole kind of like jumps from, 0 to 100 easily, like either no jail or jail, right? So, and there's kind of like no middle ground. There's no opportunity for like recovery or healing. Very, very minimal opportunity for that. So I do feel like if we do meet people where they're at in time, that it could definitely be healing. It could definitely make changes for sure. Definitely. And I think that a lot of times, like even specifically like with R. Kelly and men who experience trauma and sexual violence like that, because a lot of young boys and men don't talk about it, or that it's normalized for men to go have sex with older women and not understand that that's also rape, right?
Okay.
Like these cycles.
Wait. Revisit that. We don't talk about that enough. We don't talk about that enough.
We do not. It's so normalized.
So
it's so normalized for men or young boys, to have sex with older women that they don't realize that that's rape. They don't realize it. They don't. And then we have these these issues come up because you're going through a traumatic event, and you're not healing from it. You're not getting the proper attention that you need to go through that because you think it's normal, and it's not. It's absolutely not. Nope.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I did an interview after, because I was on the spill talking about just masculine toxicity, and I was so angry because I was like feeling this, and I had to check myself and really talk about what does that actually mean and what does that look like. So I decided for myself to unlearn and learn some things. I interviewed a few men to really talk to them about their views on masculine toxicity, and to hear Black men talk about their views behind it was incredible. And it was scenarios like you just told me, where they didn't see or know that it was rape, that it would just seem okay, or that they didn't know if a girl or woman says no multiple times that she actually means no. Like family. If somebody say no, leave it alone.
Exactly.
Leave it alone. Don't be like, let me try. Let me tickle. No, leave it alone.
Or if I can change her mind a little bit, we'll just, if I do something like this.
Yeah. Don't even. Okay, because that gets you into shit you don't want to be in. I'm telling you. Okay, so as Black women, I also ask you to listen to your Black men and have that discussion on what does that even look like for a more healing relationship. What does it look like? What does masculine toxicity look like? What do they mean by that? Their views behind protecting Black women. Because that is when we open the doors to healing communication, the healing conversations. It's time.
It is time, girl.
It is time. I'm exhausted.
Girl.
I'm exhausted. Okay, family. This was a deep conversation.
This was, girl. You know what? You didn't tell me I signed up for this.
Listen, I know. We met at the club this time, and now we.
Do you remember that?
Actually, the first time we really on the phone.
What'd you say?
This is actually the first time we've been on the phone, so you don't really know I'm deep. I'm deep.
No, I can tell you deep, girl, but I didn't know you was gonna bring it out of me.
Trust and believe. I will. I love. Listen, that's what I do. But no. Any last comments or anything from you?
From me? I just want people to just understand that saying protecting Black women is not just a slogan. Like, it's actually a thing that you have to believe in. You have to live this shit. You have to be open to being understanding, like we talked about, and just understanding that this is a journey. You're not gonna just be like, yeah, protect Black women and just feel like you know everything right away, or feel like you can advocate right away, right? You just have to be open to learning, and just being there. And it's just not a slogan. That's not it. You can't just tweet protect Black women and just go be toxic and call women bitches all day. You have to live this life. You have to be open to making changes. So that's what I just want people to know. Yes,
I love it. Whew, I gotta breathe through that. Family, let's take a moment to breathe. Look, I be breathing throughout the day. I'm like, listen, I be checking myself. I be like, did you just say that? You better cut. But no, it ain't no hashtag.
Exactly.
It's not a movement just to be a movement. There's a reason. And another thing I challenge my Black family, you all to do, talk to the Black women and ask yourself, even Black women, ask yourself, what can I do to protect you? How can I support you? What does that look like for you? We don't know all the answers. Yes, we two Black women, but what we say may be different from another Black woman.
Exactly.
So ask your Black women around you, what does protection look like for you?
And like you just said, everyone will have a different answer every time. And maybe they don't even know the answer, but you have to be willing to be patient and revisit it in the future if necessary. Yeah.
Definitely,
A lot of, and a
definitely,
lot of times people
definitely,
don't even know what they need, right? So you just have to just be patient. Yeah.
definitely, definitely, definitely. Whew, breathing through all of this, all of this. Yes, I'm so thankful for everybody that who has been tuning in. I hope this conversation has been very insightful. I know it's been pretty heavy, but
Definitely.
it's something we need to talk about. It's
Yeah.
something. And if you are a part of our family, where is Neva? We talk about different things every week. Like this week, we're talking about grieving and what does that look like. And we start off with affirmations. And then we start talking about it gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And then we ended up with like a flash Black Friday of somebody or something that's happened in our history to talk about that. So we in this together. We in this together. I'm so thankful for you.
I'm
I'm so
thankful for
thankful.
you. And I appreciate you for being vulnerable because it's very hard and sharing your story to like better our community. It's a beautiful thing. And I appreciate what you use your platform for. I really
Appreciate that.
do.
Listen, it's a team of us. Hold me accountable because I can't be doing this shit by myself. This is a lot of work.
Absolutely.
It's a
Absolutely.
lot of work. I do want to mention before we wrap up, we do have our support system, which is a directory of Black wellness experts globally that are here to help us with our truth. Okay, family, from those who are victims to those who have caused the situations. We want to help. It's time for us to open the doors of our healing. And so we are constantly adding to our directory. We have some phenomenal people that you can reach out to right now that are doing the work that is helping and opening doors for healing in different ways mentally, financially, romantically, physically, and I missed another one, but it's okay. But that is constantly doing the work. So get the help. Get the help. Okay, we are in this together. Um, and next week, or no, shoot, tomorrow we have a Wellness Wednesday live with a woman named Kendall from Humming Your Truth, and she's going to talk about healing through trauma. So this was a perfect discussion to talk about tomorrow because she's
Perfect.
going to talk about what does that look like and how we can heal through this stuff. Okay, and we have Wellness Wednesdays every last 2 Wednesdays of the month, and we do our table talks not every Tuesdays and Thursdays. They come up different times, and it's either through IG story or we jump on the live with some people. So I am so thankful. Yes, that's my little spiel.
And what time is the
Well,
live tomorrow?
you said what time?
What time is the live tomorrow?
It's at 6. Oh shoot, I was about to lie. It's at 12 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay.
Okay, so and we'll be saving it, so I know people probably at work or whatever they can tune into. And soon that'll be all on YouTube and everything else. If you did not catch the one last Wednesday, it was healing through investing and therapy. It was incredible. Brandon did phenomenal. Okay, you guys, we doing this. Okay, community healing. It is time. Okay. Yes, I'm done. I'm tired. Woo.
Well, get some rest, sis.
I'm about to, but I do want to tell people follow her. You can find out all her information on whereisneva.com, but you definitely can tap into her name right there, the prototype.
Mm-hmm.
Follow Tashara. She's doing incredible work.
Thank you.
She's very transparent as well, and
Thank
she
you.
also opened doors of mental wellness. And she has all these beautiful outfits that she's sharing and showcasing. And she talks about Black businesses. So yes, follow her. Double tap on some of her pictures and whatnot. Because
Please do.
listen, like I said, it's a community, and we are giving in all different ways. In all different ways. All right. I appreciate you. I
I
love
appreciate
you.
you too, sis. Thank you so much for
Stay
having
beautiful.
me. I appreciate you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you for joining on this ride with me. I know you didn't know we gonna go this deep, but sis, we here. We
I
here.
know. I know.
And we need to do this. So yes, I love you. Thank you for everything. I love you, family. I'm sending you light, love, and reinsurance. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.